Hello and welcome to Leashed Dad's podcast. That's JJ.
And that's Jared.
We're two leashed dads that get together to discuss our everyday lives while chained to our parental responsibilities. And tonight we are talking about three of the top ways that our kids are like us and or our partners, our wives.
Sounds about right.
So I apologize off the bat. I'm tired.
No, that's
And I
unacceptable.
was falling asleep in the bed, waiting for my kids to go to sleep. So,
I know that feeling all too
yeah,
well. Well, have you ever had a few long nights? And by long nights, I mean I go to sleep, and all of a sudden, 3 o'clock in the morning, I hear my dog barking up a storm.
no, I thankfully don't
Oh,
have that problem.
yeah. Thankfully, you don't have dogs that bark at everything. Although we do have like a groundhog that's around, in our neighbor's backyard or something like that. So pretty sure when the groundhog comes out, that's what our dog is barking at.
Okay,
Um, and he's been barking from like 3, basically until like 5:30. So it's like,
yikes.
yeah, 2 hours straight of bark, 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 bark. It's kind of annoying. Um, but the past 2 nights he's done that, and Sam and I have both been woken up by that noise, um, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so
Yeah,
you're tired. I've had long couple days here just because getting up, and yes, I'm now granted I'm able to go back to sleep for a little bit. It's not a full sleep, but it's a sleep. It's kind of like one of those power naps in a sense. So it's okay. It makes up for it. But um yeah, I guess one of these things is we're just all tired right now.
yep.
But yeah, so we're talking about the top 3 ways or so that children, or as Jared mentioned, our children are like us. Um, as like their fathers. We're going to use specific tongue tied. We're not just going to make it doesn't always have to be just about us. Just how they kind of reflect or mirror their parents, um, whether it be personality, mannerisms, things of that nature. So,
All right. So first, one that inspired me to do this topic was, Eleanor is in first grade. She's starting to read now,
mhm.
and her attention and her actual attempts at reading mirror what I did at her age.
Hmm.
And it's it's kind of crazy just in all these ways. These are just the top three, but there's a bunch of other ones that just, you take a step back and wow, genetics are crazy. I've said that many times on this episode, on this podcast. Just genetics are crazy. Um, so she will do anything and everything to avoid reading at the time. And I did the same exact thing. And I can just see it now. Her picking the same books out every time because she's memorized the words, just like me. When I did her book report in like grade school, it was always the same like 5 books
Hmm.
until one day in like third grade I got scolded for it because each grade I would do the same book, and then third grade came along. My parents said you can't do this book again. A, it's super easy, and B, you're just making new words for the report you did last year and the year before that.
So it was your parents that got you, not your teacher.
Well, the teacher wouldn't have known.
True.
And, she would, the teacher would have known only the fact that it was a bit of an easier book and not a longer one or a harder
Hmm.
one. They wouldn't have known that it was the same report. Now,
Right.
I will admit, I pulled that shit in high school and college to a certain degree.
Hmm.
So,
Naughty dog.
and I think this is a pretty common thing where you have an old paper that you just kind of make better and longer or something,
Yeah.
and it's a different professor, so no one's going to know. But it's
Mm.
just the shortcuts that she takes and her, unfortunately, her lack of attention, which I ended up on Adderall for, so hopefully
Huh.
she can
Avoid
avoid
that.
that as much as possible.
Well, there's one way to avoid that. Just making sure that she's paying attention. I know
Right.
first grade is still hard. You're transitioning from like kindergarten into more of a learning style now. Um, Obviously, I've got a sixth grader, a second grader, and a kindergartner. So yeah, definitely, feel it there. But um, that's kind of funny that you're talking about just her trying to find the easy way out or kind of skipping over it. I think Arlo is the same way in a sense. I know
Yeah.
the thing here when it comes to it, reading, right? Sam is truly one that loves to read. Uh, Kane, for the longest time, we were making him read paperback books. Excuse me. Paperback slash hardcover copies, like things you can actually touch. And then after he got his phone, he switched over to wanting to read via Kindle or digitally. I personally am against this because at this point, and I think I've said this a couple times within the podcast itself already, him reading something digitally still gives him a chance to do something else on his phone.
Yeah.
Like it may not look obvious, or it may look obvious that he's not doing it. That's why I'm against him doing something with a with his phone, reading digitally. If he had a Kindle, and I know that the Kindle is only meant for reading ebooks or whatever, fine. But he doesn't have a Kindle. He's got a phone that has access to the internet. He's got a phone that has many apps on it. Obviously, he could be doing something else.
Right.
Um, and it's one of those things to consider. But to me, he's kind of like my children are kind of like me. They're not necessarily like avid or lovers of reading. Like I read when I needed to. I
Same.
read I read to my kids. Um, but it's not like I go above and beyond and read um, all these books all the time either. So it's just one of those things. I think my kids take kind of reflect or mirror off me in that sense. They don't necessarily like reading. We do force it more as it is kind of like their homework essentially, making sure they are practicing their reading. Um, so we'll see how that kind of continues as we go um, down the block, and maybe I could be wrong. Maybe Eleonora will love reading when she gets to that point. I mean, she already loves throwing books at me and saying read, essentially. Um, not actually saying it and not actually throwing, but her my point. She loves having daddy read to her. So she loves the interaction. She loves the quality
Yeah.
time.
I think it's just, I don't know if it's the actual like reading itself or if it's just, my inherent trait to be lazy, to take the easy way out because I'm lazy. I'll be the first to admit that. I am. I
Yeah.
could have like one dish that needs to be washed by hand or something, and I'll figure out a way to put it in the dishwasher because
You're
and
that
I
lazy, huh?
don't know, and it's not like she was able to witness anything that she picked up on it. It's strictly just her core being like her father. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, my kids are kind of the same way, right? I mean, Kane obviously being my stepson, um, I honestly think it comes from his dad, who may not always read, but at the same time, some of the things I do pick up are observed,
Yeah,
but also, like to your point, genetics or just their personality or things that are already part of them. It's like, maybe don't like reading. I don't know. Fine. You don't have to like it, but you still have to do it.
yeah. It takes a certain type of person really to get into a book, and the older I got, the more. I mean, yeah, I'm still very distracted when I'm reading, but at a certain point, I was able to have the enjoyment of seeing it in my head as I was reading. I could see the story unfold in my
Mm.
head. Where as a kid, and even as a teenager and in college, I never was fully committed to something that I was reading in order to achieve that level
Mm.
of imagination or engagement in the
Right.
piece I was reading.
No,
So
that
I
makes
think it
sense.
might just be maturity or something. I don't know.
Maturity time. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, taking the time to really focus and
connect.
understand,
Yep.
connect. Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a maturity thing, but just taking the time to connect and make it, honestly, bond between the book and
Yeah.
yourself or something relative. So,
What's
um,
your first one?
I mean, I think that was kind of my first one right there.
Okay. What's your second then?
Um, shoot, my second one. Um, I'm struggling with this. I mean, this is a great topic. I'm just struggling to come up with some things because uh, there's trying multiple children, I guess, or
Yeah.
trying to think of anything from any of my children. I know I'm not trying to like all clump them together or anything by that means. Just trying to go through each child individually and see who really is like me. Oh, here, uh, Eleonora is fairly stubborn right now. I know infant or toddlers can always be that way,
Yeah.
but this is more like a mannerism from Sam. Sam is stubborn. Eleonora is definitely stubborn. Like she is, and I will applaud her for this. And if it continues as she gets older, great. I'm in trouble, but great for her because it to me at that point, it would mean that she's going to be a little headstrong
Mm-hmm.
and sticking with sticking to her guns essentially, um, not letting people push her around in that note. So, and Sam is like that too, even though Sam's tiny, right? I'm not saying physically push her around. I'm saying like she won't take the emotional abuse or uh, she won't just back down. She'll have a spine. She won't just back down when somebody confronts her verbally or anything like that. So it's a good mannerism to have, not falling back or pulling out, um, just because somebody all of a sudden gets huffy puffy and starts trying to beat you down mentally and have you see it their way.
Yeah. And with that, I see that trait, like you said, Eleonora and Sam. Eleanor and Natalie are very similar with their mannerisms and being and stubborn and everything else. So she will stand up for herself, and I've complained many times on this podcast about her and her listening problems, but
Mm-hmm.
that's just because she's stubborn and wants to do everything her way and
Mm-hmm.
wants it to be about her. And I was that way inside. And I'm sure if any of my long-term friends, childhood friends, listen to this episode, I definitely, if I didn't want to play basketball, I just fucking went home because I didn't want to do that. And it was kind of a
Right.
dick move on my part, but
But
at the
was
end
it
of the
though?
day, I don't know. I mean, I kind of felt like I should have just been the go along guy, but I was being a kind of a dick for just leaving because I didn't want to do what they were doing, and so Cora is more of that way where she's more observant, and unfortunately, she has her headstrong sister that she watches her behavior, and I know she watches how she gets reprimanded for certain attitudes
Mm-hmm.
and arguing with her parents, because while she will be stubborn, she'll also just cave. In a minute or two, she'll just cave and do the thing that we ask her to do. So, and also, if Eleanor is playing something and Cora doesn't want to, Cora will just leave and do something else instead of fighting and arguing, because that's what eventually will happen if she stayed there with her sister. I don't
Yeah.
know what it's like at school, but it's just I can see that she pays attention to other people's feelings and is kind of
Hmm.
walking on eggshells, really, because she doesn't want to piss off anybody.
She's taking after daddy, trying to
Yep.
be a people pleaser. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing at such a young age either.
It's I've dealt with it many times in my self-reflection of my past and who I am as a person, and in a lot of ways there are cons, and the
Hmm.
pros just aren't there in order to justify keep doing it. But that's something she's going to have to learn, and if I can help her learn that in any way, I will. If she is struggling as a teenager or a preteen with being depressed, that she's not, how do I state this, that she's not being herself and she's trying to personality mirror, or she's kind of pent up with not being able to express herself,
Mm-hmm.
then I can step in and be like, you don't have to be that emo kid like your dad was. You can
Hmm.
stand up for yourself like your sister and mom, and
Yep.
live your life, really. And if that rings true, and if she understands that at that age and even as a young adult, great. That's just further progress than what I had at that age, at those ages.
But you know what that means to me, right? It means that she's got some good parents.
Yeah.
Parents that are willing to help her learn along the way. Yes, you can't. I know people love to try to protect their children all the time, uh, but sometimes you have to let them learn
Yeah.
and do it and take the take the pain or whatever comes with it, the life lesson essentially that
Right.
comes with doing something. You can't just be like, you can't put a bubble around the child.
Right.
As much as we want to bubble our children up to keep them safe, we can't do it, because then they really won't learn anything. And then when it does come time, they're going to truly rely on you, and they'll feel very helpless.
Right. And if you come at them with a lecture on a subject that they haven't experienced for themselves, they're probably going to be like me and just, even Natalie, they're probably just going to be like, "Oh, okay, mom and dad, okay." And then they're going to figure it out for themselves and be like, "Oh, wow, they were kind of right." Hopefully. I mean, yeah.
Huh? So, for my last one, I had, this is kind of a good one, but um, when I say good, I mean this is just one that a lot of people might see or might not see. Depends on how I want to be careful how I phrase it, but I don't know. Not sometimes I'm not that observant, but other times you can notice things. Um, but children bottling their feelings up. How, I catch myself doing it too. Like, I just stay silent. Um, this kind of goes along with the, I'll say, avoid arguing or
Yeah,
not wanting to argue.
it's part
Kind
of
of to
people
the point of
pleasing.
people pleasing, but at the same time, it's just I don't necessarily argue for the sake of I have no need to argue. I don't feel there is really a need to argue about something, especially when my point is repetitive. I never bring out like a new point or anything like that. But
Yeah,
the thing I'm really going at here, besides that side tangent of the arguing, is just bottling up the emotions, um, to the point where all of a sudden you pop or you can't hold them back anymore. So it's a very, very poor way to cope. Um, my children definitely have a tendency to do that, and this is actually a reflection of all parents, like myself and Sam, and from our kids. Um, our children do have a tendency to bottle up, not necessarily share how they're feeling or anything like that. Um, but it's one of those things that they probably just inherited from us. Uh, Not like we've necessarily shown them that we bottle up our emotions all the time. Um, I feel like I used to do a better job of not showing emotion when I was younger. Cursed children, cursed children for. I love my children dearly, right? But curse my children because now almost watch some sappy ass movie and I become extremely sensitive. Uh, or some of those children movies like Encanto for some reason almost puts me in tears even though I know what's going to happen.
oh, it's a
Just what
sad. It that's part of you're building your empathetic bone. You're trying. You're putting yourself in. Especially that scene where the grandma loses her husband. Yeah, and is gone forever. I mean, that's a very
I
very
don't
gut wrenching scene. Just
that
like
doesn't get me.
Oh,
That's
okay.
not the scene that gets me. The scene that gets me is the end of the movie when they start building the house and then they give Mirabelle the frickin' door handle.
Oh, so
That's
you're
what
more
gets me.
happy tears than I'm more sad tears. Well, hey, folks, psychology into each into your hosts
It's
here.
Yeah, psychology into the host. It's like, yeah, it's more happy tears. Uh it,
Oh,
it's one of
okay.
those things. I hate it. It bugs
Did you
me.
see Soul?
Yes. It's
Did
been a
you
while.
get
I've only seen it once.
okay? Did you get teary in that?
I don't remember.
Okay,
If
I
I watch
I
it again,
can't
I
watch that
probably
movie
will.
because of how emotional I get.
Hmm. There's some other ones out there that are, and it's more recent too, like Encanto. Um, Shoot, what's the other one? Oh, Inside Out. I get a little sappy in a sense too. Um,
Yep.
just it drives me nuts. Like, I love those movies, but the fact that, and actually, I want to rephrase it. Yes, it's happy tears for Encanto, but at the same time, it's also tears of just like everybody's finally realized that Mirabelle has played a part. So it's just it really is like an empathy thing for Mirabelle that everybody's like, yes, you've actually probably been like one of the strongest people in this house because you haven't had powers, but that's okay because your power is to hold the family together.
Yeah, she doesn't have obvious
She doesn't have a
powers you can
power
see
like
right
her
then and there.
sister Louisa, super
Right.
strong, or
Right.
her sister
Flower. Yeah.
flower power. Yeah, it's like it's it's like Abuela just keeps the family together. She's like, if they come out with an Encanto 2, maybe we'll start seeing Mirabelle take the role as the house leader. Like learn from Abuela and just take on the role of being the leader of the house,
Yeah.
head honcho. Maybe not. I mean, everybody looks on up to her at that point. Not necessarily be like the leader, but just kind of the one that everybody goes to. So
I think yours is one of my biggest fears as a dad, especially to girls, and I hope they don't bottle up their feelings, especially when they need to be discussed. Like when we get into the later years and closer teenager years,
yeah,
if I could have a relationship where they are, they feel comfortable enough to talk to me about some strange or weird feelings that they're having, I just hope that that's the case. I don't want them to bottle their feelings like I did. I don't want that.
right.
Yeah.
I don't either. I want them to be able to talk. Um, and I know we've got our kids in counseling right now to help with that as well. Especially some of it's behavioral issues. Um, but sometimes they don't necessarily feel like they can't talk to people, or they're going to get a bad reaction because they're trying to share their emotions. Um, and that's obviously not what we want. We want them to feel that we want them to know that they can be heard and understood, making that connection or really having their um, fuck, I can't think of it right now. The word is escaping me. Um, but essentially, they are being heard and acknowledge, their feelings are being acknowledged, not just like, okay, fine, whatever, go on.
Yeah.
You told me, and now we're gonna move on. They don't want that, and nobody wants that. So that's why I think some of the times kids start bottling their stuff up. It's because they're being dismissed rather than being heard and action being followed with. But
Yeah. It's a good
that's,
one.
I mean, like you said, though, it's also a fear too. You don't want them to necessarily bottle up, uh, or you fear that they will bottle up even though they have no reason to maybe distrust you right now.
Yeah. Wait. Oh, are you asking me if I feel they
No,
distrust me?
it's just,
Oh,
it's just kind of one of those things you hope they don't start down that path.
right.
So
Last, it's really just physical. I mean, when you guys when you have kids, if you guys aren't parents yet, you'll understand what I'm saying. And it's very clear to me because Eleanor, Natalie, Cora, me,
mm,
height, body type, metabolism, same. It's crazy. I mean, I
mm,
even Antonio has his father's build and has since I've known him.
mm,
I just think that's crazy.
yeah,
I don't think it's just, you don't really realize it until you have your kids. It's like, oh shit, biology class in ninth grade was true.
mm,
Genes do carry from
mm.
parent to child.
I
Bastard
can
didn't
relate.
lie to me.
Yeah, no, it's really scary talking about the metabolism and everything. Like we look at Arlo, he's got his mom's body
Okay,
for sure. Like that kid is. So is Kane. Kane and Arlo are both kind of like skin and bone.
spindly. Yeah,
Yeah, and Arlo has his mom's skin. Like he will not burn, or if he burns, it's once,
really.
then he frickin' tans.
Wow.
Nico has got my physique. I think he's gonna be. I think he can also be stubborn, but he's also gonna be the one kid to like. He's gonna. I think he's gonna have my physique here, be a little more muscular, um, but he's not gonna take shit from people.
Yeah.
And obviously, I say he's not gonna take shit from people because here at home, when it's like kids are playing and all of a sudden they start picking on him, yes, his behavior does kind of spike to the inappropriate behavior where he'll start getting frustrated and angry, um, and start trying to take it out by attacking. But at least I know at that point he's basically saying, "Don't fuck with me, dude.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna get fucked."
Yeah.
So I feel like that's gonna be him. But he's got my skin tone. He's got the light skin tone where he will burn, unfortunately. Um, and Nora, uh, still I think a little too early to tell, just because she's still got some of her baby fat on and everything, and she's I think facial features she looks more like her mom. Body right now, I like I said, still hard to tell. But we'll keep you updated on that as more to come. So maybe she'll have mom's body and skin. Hopefully, they all have that, except for Nico. Unfortunate, but you know, genetics, they do carry. It's
Yes.
just what types of traits do you have? The dominant? Do you have the recessive? I think Nico really does have a recessive when it comes to skin tone or everything like that. Um, but obviously, all my kids have brown eyes.
Mine too.
Yep,
Surprisingly.
just just because it's the
Well,
dominant.
blue is recessive. So,
Yeah, but yeah. So I'm glad you
well,
brought that one up. That's a good one.
yeah, I hope that you guys had a time to reflect on how your kids are similar to you and your partner tonight. It's kind of what I was hoping with this episode, that you would have a chance to reflect and just, instead of daydreaming about what's on social media, daydream about all the ways that your kids are similar to you.
Yeah, certainly enjoy reflecting or even starting to now think about how your children, or even what can you do to, if you are, when you're thinking about becoming a new parent, what can you do to allow your kids to be more like you, or how you wanted to be?
Yeah,
What are some actions you can start taking now as you plan for parenthood?
right. Make
So
plans to come up, even if you need to write them down, just like me, for example. I'm going to fight as much as possible to have my kids not bottle up their feelings, and I'm going to take the necessary steps to have an open and honest conversation about feelings, dreams, aspirations, and everything else, and just have an open communication. That's something that I felt I didn't have growing up, and I'm going to fix that for my children. So
and acknowledge the feelings.
yeah,
Don't just
don't discount
dismiss.
them. Yeah,
Don't discount them. Don't dismiss them. Acknowledge them. Make sure they understand they're being heard, um, and recognized, because that's gonna lead. If you do start dismissing, that's gonna lead to them bottling up for sure.
yep.
So, food for thought, guys. Keep it in mind. Reflect on those things, or start planning if you aren't a parent yet and looking to be a parent. Uh, we are again leash dads. Um, Enjoying our everyday lives and responsibilities while chained to our children and wives or spouses. I mean, in a lovey-dovey way, um, obviously. So, all of you have a great night. Enjoy Jared's Unlocking Jared Potential YouTube videos as well. He's doing a great job. Want him to keep it up, and he's posting on. You are, if I recall, posting still on the Leash Dads as well, YouTube, or no? I
No,
can't
I haven't
remember.
done any shorts lately, but I
Okay.
I just thought of doing that actually again tonight.
Yeah. So he is on TikTok as well. You can find him at Jared, JARREDD 47. And then you can also find me on TikTok at Darth Nomi, DARTHGNOMIE. Have a great night. We'll see you all next time. What a sign off.
I don't think you
It's,
hit the end button, man.
I stopped. It's just cutting. It's I don't know what's going on. Hello? Why aren't you done? You can stop now. Maybe. No. WTF, mate. Let me refresh the page. Changes may not. Okay, well, fine. Hello? How are you?
Should I leave?
Um, I'm just gonna try ending session for all. Hold on.